Hundreds of millions in Hollywood handouts facing scrutiny as critics question the economic and ethical value of California's $330 million film and television tax credit program. The Poynter Institute reported some academic analyses for similar programs in other states like New York show that most government tax credits in film have not produced any significant economic growth. And a report by OpenTheBooks.com showed two programs critics say was particularly harmful to teens got nearly $100 million in tax incentives. Joining us this morning to break down the numbers is founder and CEO of OpenTheBooks.com, Adam Andrzejewski. Good morning to you, sir. Your organization just published that 14-page report quantifying the $722 million in Hollywood handouts. Tell us about the tax incentive program and who's benefiting from this.
So this is the governor's signature centerpiece program of his administration when it comes to tax credits. He knows 100% of who is receiving how much for what project in the state of California, full stop. So the critics say that this is Hollywood handouts to major studios who don't need taxpayer help. But Governor Gavin Newsom, he'll say that this is good for local jobs and the economic growth in California.
And there's also a goal to punish productions that don't reach, quote, diversity and inclusion goals. Those productions would lose 4% of their tax allocations. But parents are paying particular attention to two programs that have received a lot of criticism. We're talking about 13 Reasons Why and Euphoria. That's because these two television shows got more than $100 million. What about these programs has enraged parents and critics?
So if you had a teenager during the pandemic, and Governor Gavin Newsom, he locked down his K-12 public schools. He forced remote learning from home. These were two TV series that were streaming on cable that caused real harms within America's families. 13 Reasons Why deals with 13 reasons why you should commit suicide. The National Institutes of Health studied that film and teenagers with mental health problems, and they said 100% you should not watch that film if you are feeling depressed. And during the pandemic, 1 out of every 3 teenagers was feeling depressed. And the National Institutes of Health said that film led to a spike in teenage suicide. It was funded in part with $46 million of California tax credits. Then you have the Euphoria. And Euphoria is basically, critics say, soft pornography for teenagers. It glorifies very explicitly teenage sex, drug use, and violence, and that was funded with $48 million worth of California tax credits, even under Gavin Newsom's administration.
Which is interesting because Governor Gavin Newsom and his wife Jennifer, also a filmmaker, hold themselves out as big advocates for teen mental health specifically, but the governor never spoke out against these shows during his administration when they continue to receive these millions of dollars in tax credits. Why do you think that is? What was in it for them?
Well, at Open the Books, we follow the money. And what you find is that some of those tax credits were recycled back into Governor Newsom's campaign funds. So you had major studios like Paramount and Netflix with 13 Reasons Why. You had Euphoria, which was produced by Warner Brothers and distributed on HBO, a Warner Brothers property. And between the different studios at $100,000 gifts from companies, from executives, from key employees of these companies, you had hundreds of thousands and then millions of dollars going to the political action committees of Gavin Newsom, or the anti-recall when he faced that recall in California, that unaffiliated political committee.
In fact, these 6 companies collectively received more than $722 million in reserve tax credits. And I know you mentioned some of these already. Disney at the top right there, followed by Warner Brothers, the Netflix, Paramount, Sony, and Comcast. So pay to play is legal in California. There's no regulations on state vendors or companies that get tax credits, Adam?
Well, at arm's length, Jan, it's all legal in the Golden State. There is no prohibition if you're a state vendor or if you collect these tax credits to kick campaign cash to statewide officials like the governor. That stands in stark contrast to places like Illinois, the Super Bowl of corruption, that after the last governor went to the federal penitentiary, they slapped prohibitions and regulations you can't give in the governor's race if you're a major recipient of state money.
Founder of OpenTheBooks.com, Adam Andrzejewski. Great to see you on this Friday. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Jan.